Okay.
Yeah, I think.
So all right. And so this is the
Yeah,
these are the
maybe
slide.
you
Yeah.
can take the slide. Maybe you can just pull it down, then people can see the title better.
Okay.
Yes, they cannot see.
We can see it now. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, the title. I don't know.
This is a kind of a visual game a bit because not easy to read the title here and the analysis of. Okay, go ahead, Pravina.
Okay. Hi everybody. Good afternoon.
Good
Good
afternoon.
evening. Hi and salam to all. So my research title is Analysis of Synergies between Corporation Reputation and Financial Enhancement in Cultural Heritage Conservation on Value Creation at Structure. So my case study is going to be about Shell of CSR project on a Puak Kumbu in Sarawak. So here, what I will be talking is it's the clearly issue will be highlighting and establishing the importance of tangible and intangible and then conservation in the mainstream of CSR domain. So as we all understand, heritage item requires investment of physical and human resources in restoring the original manufacturing and constructions as it was destroyed over a period of time. So when that, the valuations of the capital should be assessed two ways.
The next slide.
The value of the assets at a given point of time and as well as the flow of services that goes into, which will give the rise and two types of valuation on economic value and also the cultural value. Is that okay? Can we? I will go into the next statement, which is the problem statement and, uh, and question. So here, the larger problem statement is the generations of income and sustaining the life of Pakumbu tradition. So as we all understand, the intangible cultural heritage of Malaysia, there is um, these are the people who has the lowest GDP. A part of earnings, they are the lowest capacity of the GDP earning. So, but what happened is, if you look correctly, the cultural heritage is inherited from the form of living cultural resources that have stimulated broad range of economic contribution to employment, generating income, value added, as well as contributing to the gross domestic product (GDP). But what happens here is we don't see the clear contribution of them to the GDP. This happens because they don't have a clear direction of value creation in how much is their products being sold. So there have been a lot of debates due to the emphasis given tangible cultural heritage, intangible cultural heritage, because they don't see the value of them contributing to the GDP. So we don't see the value there. So this research will explore how do you create a value into this part. So So the knowledge and skills. One of the main criteria that we will be looking at would be the knowledge and skill associated to the artisans, which is passed from the past generation to the future generation, which create a form of continuity and source of income to the identity of community. So if you look at Tua Kumbu, it's a traditional being done, a cloth textile industry being done by the Sarawakian. So there would be a several mechanism that could be used for the traditional sustainability of the traditional. So So here the problem that we will look into the generation of income and sustaining the livelihood of poor Tamil tradition. Because we clearly can say that how we can't determine how much they contribute to the GDP. So when we can't determine their contribution to the GDP, they would be sidelined in any policy makings or in any form of uh, income generations. Like for example, in larger commercial area, you would have a group of people where we can measure their GDP contributions to the country's economy. So there will be a lot of enhancements project will be given to these people. For example, even you can see during time of COVID, but you will hardly hear any form of assistance or any form of given to the people who come from the artisans background. So this makes it a bit difficult. So when these people don't get the kind of assistance to sustain themselves, so the next point, empowering the next generation and how CSR will empower identity and sustainability. So what Shell have done in Sarawak is they have a huge manufacturing of oil mining in Sarawak. So they have actually contributed to the development of Puah Kumbu. But how long? They only took about 2 years to contribute to the sustainability. Did the CSR actually empower the identity of sustainability? So here the questions that I'll be asking. To which economic sector does the cultural heritage contribute? So which sector did the Puah Kumbu actually contribute? How can the economic impact of cultural heritage be measured? How do they measure that they actually empower the identity? They can sustain to the next generation. How significant is the contribution? How significant is the value contribution and value creation? So it means how much they create the value. The next problem would be, have the organization consider the social cost, the benefit and product of users. So, did they consider the social cost before they give the grant for the Puah Kumbu? Did they actually consider the social cost? Did they actually measure how much is the social value? How much product they produce? How much service?
Pravina, can't hear you.
So, how can the can you hear me now?
Okay, now here, yes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, okay. But not so good, but still okay.
So, the result? Okay.
Okay.
Is it better?
Yeah, better.
Okay, from here, we get the result. The results will actually impact on the cultural heritage across the territory being compared, which means we also will look into other countries with a similar kind of nature to look into it. See, we can look at the territorial kind of elements on it. Are you hearing me?
Now I can hear. When you face the other way, it's a bit hard to hear. When you face this way, it's better. Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's okay. Not good.
Yeah,
Not good.
okay, can you hear me better?
Slightly better, slightly better.
You can hear me?
Yeah, but kind of breaking up.
Oh, okay.
Now it's good. Now it's good.
Okay. We can also actually look into the capital asset from form of assets, right? Can you hear?
Now I can hear you, but you said asset that wasn't that good. The last sentence wasn't that good. Go ahead.
Okay.
Right. Good.
Now okay?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, if the cultural heritage as capital asset is distinguished from other forms of asset is possession specific value, whose assessment of value could it be? So we'll here going to value how much is the product will be cost valuations of it. So the Sustainable Development Goals that we were looking at quality education. So would be SDG 4, SDG 11, to make cities and human settlement inclusive, safe, resistant, and sustainable for all. Because this Puao Kumbu is more of a nature retrieved textile industry. And SDG 16 to promote peaceful and inclusive society for sustainable development. So, my research questions done. The case will be case construct, validity studies I'll be doing, external validities and theoretical validation, which I think along the way we will decide, and reliability tests. So we will do all this together. I'm done. I'm so sorry, it's very short. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah, go to the next slide maybe.
Yeah, I already finished the next slide.
Oh, you finished the next slide? Ah, okay. Yeah. We don't have it. That's the next slide. All right.
Yeah, we didn't notice.
Okay. You should tell us when you move to the next slide,
sorry,
so that we know that you're moving to the next slide. Okay. So how are you connecting your research to this SDGs again? This one. Can you explain one more time, please?
Okay. STD here would be the quality education to ensure inclusive and equality of the education, promoting lifelong learning opportunity for all. So when you look at this, the traditional of Puao Kumbu, it is knowledge being transferred one generation to another generation. So to a comprehensive and practical syllabus in the learning institution of all level. Or we can put it, Puao Kumbu is not only learning, that's why I put a gap on it. It's opportunity, because now you see the traditional traits of Puao Kumbu is not passed around, because we have a lot of people have moved into commercialization, especially when there is a shell in Sarawak. Everybody are moving to a job opportunity in shell. You see, so this Puao Kumbu knowledge has been not been traditionally passed. So how do you want to pass this knowledge? Because what happens in Puao Kumbu is the dye that they have to do, it has come from the village.
Breaking up. Pravina, you're taking commercial break?
Iklan.
Okay, we lost you now. Come back, Pravina. Don't go, come back. No.
That was.
Oh,
We lost you now.
your voice. We can hear parts of your voice.
Using laptop or using
Phone, laptops.
phone? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Pravina?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Now I can hear you now.
Sorry, my house is nearly to the hill area, so the internet this is the best it could be.
Yeah. Welcome to Malaysia.
I'm using comparative to the laptop reception. I think the reception is much more better.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
You want to continue?
Yeah. Yes. Can I continue?
Sure. I can hear you now. Good.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is what we have. SDG 11 to make cities and human settlement inclusive, safe, and resilient to sustainable to all. So this Puao Kumbu is a community is done by the Sarawakian community. So before the shells goes in, it's more of an indigenous community. So when you have a commercialization activity, it will definitely affect the human settlement. So are we being part, if the Pork Move going to be part of inclusive planning of that they have? Is it safe and release resilient and sustainable for all? Because Pork Move is um, a cultural identity for the community there. If you take it up there, from there, it will not be inclusive and sustainable because they use the dye from a particular type of plants which is found in Sarawak. So if you have commercialization activity, you will be destroying the landscape of the plants where they grow. It also will be contributing to the climate change, not the global climate change, but to the environment climate change within that. So would they be resilient? Would it be safe? So would they be sustainable? So these kind of things that we will be looking into. It's also to promote peaceful and inclusive society for sustainable development. So to achieve collaborations between the industry, which is Shell, in getting the most relevant projects that focus on providing solution and benefit to the environment as well as community. As I mentioned earlier, the process involved of dyeing and also buying certain types of using certain types of natural products to produce Puah Kumbu. And one Puah Kumbu can fetch up to about I heard could fetch up to 3,000 USD. And some could be also Malaysian, the lower ends would be like 2,000 ringgit. So they are expensive.
What is expensive again?
The Puah Kumbu product.
The product.
Yes, it's like batik, but it's called Puah Kumbu.
Ah, okay, all right. Okay. Yeah.
The next one is the methodology. And be a case study qualitative. Be doing a case construct validity study. So external validity or theoretical validations, which is not decided yet. The next one would be the reliability.
All right. Okay. That's it, right? Right, that's good. Oh, yeah, it's okay. This is the beginning. Don't worry about it. Is that all? You want to say some more?
Yeah, that's all.
Okay. All right. Any particular thought you have about the direction you're going with this? You want to add some more before I give my feedback to you?
No, I think I get the feedback. It's okay. I don't think I'm not going anywhere.
Okay. So, number of things first. Remember this, and this applies to all of us as researchers and scholars in social sciences. Yeah. So all research is about answering research questions, right? So the clearer our research questions are, the better the outcomes and the findings will be. So the strategy of carrying out a successful PhD research includes having, and this is the core of it, right? Having very clear, very viable PhD standard research questions, right? Once the research questions are clear, you function like a compass. And at this point, it's good that you have actually identified a number of research questions. Maybe we can go back to the slides there, the 2 slides before this. Yeah, that's the one. I guess you have the question somewhere at the end there. Yeah, right there. Okay, so you have 2 parts to your question, right? One is about measuring cultural heritage, right? So this is the conundrum, the challenge of measuring something that's intangible like cultural heritage, and especially putting the economic dimension into the question, right? So you want to measure cultural heritage from economic point of view. So you ask the question, which economic sectors you want to measure, what economic impact you want to have, what kind of impact does it have, you know, the cultural heritage, and whether it's significant or not, right? The kind of three-part question you have there. So that is the first question, the first set of questions, right, Pravina?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Then the second one is that the second set of question you have? How can the
Yeah.
results of the is that it?
Yes.
Okay. How can the results of the impact of cultural heritage across territories be compared? All right. How can you? So the results here, you're referring to economic results. Are you referring to, you know, results in general?
Which one? It's going back to the previous one. Have the organization considered the social cost
Yeah.
and benefits
Mhm.
of the product or services?
Yeah. That's the second one. Yeah.
Yeah. So that will branch out to the culture impact of culture heritage across the territories being combined. The territories could be removed. We can just say that it's. I was too ambitious and I put territories. That's the. Yeah.
It's all right.
Because
Okay. This is time you can be ambitious. You can be anything you want. This is the first stage of your journey. So it's fine. It's fine. And then you ask if cultural heritage as a capital asset is distinguished from other forms of asset by its possession of a specific type of value, whose assessment of the value is to count, and how is it to be measured? All right, right. Making it really complicated there. Okay.
So here is
All right. There's there's an underlying question I must ask as well. Is this question part of a grant, or is it your question, or you want to kill two birds with one stone, or that is an important question I must ask first. Yeah.
it's my question, and also like some of the readings that I have put, so the thoughts, then I combined it. So I think it's what I came up to, or maybe this could be broken into few levels of.
Okay. What the point I'm asking here is this: are you doing this? Is this an objective from a research grant, or you're not limited by the objectives of the grant? Or,
No, it's not.
no, it's not. Yeah. Okay. Good. Beautiful. Good.
Then,
That is good. That is a big relief there. Otherwise, otherwise, then be a bit constrained. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a bit from a grant type question there.
oh, so sorry. You can maybe because we have worked on several things right before, so that's why I don't know. So sorry.
Okay. Now one of the shifts or contestation in the business world, or in fact in the economic world, is the idea of private good, private value versus public good, public value. And one of the critiques, right? I mean, there have been many criticisms and all that against businesses. Is that businesses have been focusing on what's in it for me type question, you know, the business case of CSR, right? Oftentimes it's about making a case for the business, you know, why is this good for business, right? Hence you have this question of how does this enhance my financial reputation, financial status, and all that, right? So if you do not have that constraint, you do not have that agenda in your thinking, then you can be more critical. And the critique is, and the shift is, or the expansion, the contestation is that to incorporate what is called public value
So I need to incorporate about public value into the Puak Umum.
Public value. So the public value is somewhat different from the business case. So the public value, if in fact, if you look at business schools, not the more hardcore Malaysian business schools, right? In fact, the hardcore, Southeast Asian type business schools, not all of them, but most of them, right, are very capitalistic. Let's go for profit maximization. Let's follow the ISO. But if you
That's
look,
where I came from.
I know that. I will not say where you came from. But what happens is in a lot of the business school, they are being colonized by capitalism, colonized by the Western paradigm of businesses. The sad thing is a number of business schools in Western societies have shifted its focus. In fact, a number of them have reframed their schools, right, from a public value point of view, right? So if you start looking into public value discourse, perhaps you can link cultural heritage, contribution of cultural heritage to public value, and you will not run away too far from management, from business discourse, because this is the progressive side of the business discourse right now. So if someone in the future you want to go into business school, you can still go to it. You can say, look, there are a number of schools in the United States, in the US, are talking about public value, talking about how they can repurpose their business schools to look at public values, and how the whole curriculum are being re-engineered to show the contribution to public value, right? So you can, I'm thinking from your point of view, Pravina, yeah? Because you might be still interested to pursue an academic kind of career, perhaps in management and all that. So I'm using the public value discourse to help you frame your research. So you do want to look at public value measurement. I'm going to give you some PDF file here on public value measurement. How do you measure public value, and there are different ways of looking at it as well. So rather than just confining yourself to looking at economic sector, economic impact, you might want to look at the public value of cultural heritage, and you can probably look at the public value of CSR projects as well. And the public value here can be quite diverse, yeah. It can be what you call that. You actually have mentioned that what is it you say there? Have the organization considered the social cost and benefits of their products and services. So if all this while big companies, for instance Shell or many other big companies like that, have inflicted all kinds of cost, environmental, social, financial perhaps, cost on the society and environment, this is the time to rectify those problems. And if you look at a lot of my discussion on CSR and the idea of rectificatory justice, to the justice to rectify past mistakes, right? You can include that as part of your research as well, right? So I've mentioned two things right now, Pravina.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me? Okay. One is the public value.
Public, yeah, and
the other one is rectificatory justice, meaning justice.
Rectification of past mistake.
That's right. To rectify just past mistake, to correct old sins, right?
So what is the academic terms that you used before that? Rectificatory.
A bit mouthful. Rectificatory. From the word rectify. Rectify. menembus kesalahan yang lampau gitu. To rectify. So
Yes.
this goes back to, I think, Plato, Aristotle. All this while, human rights and all that have been emphasizing, not human rights, more, a lot of justice discourse have been emphasizing the redistributive justice, but they have not looked at rectificatory justice, which is the second part of what Plato talks about. The second, which is very important, a mistake that's committed by the past that is being still shouldered by the present society. So if my elders long time ago come here and or my company long time ago come here and created havoc, exploited the people, so I have gained the benefit from the exploiters, right? So how can I rectify the mistakes? That kind of rectificatory justice. But there's book written by Joran Kolstad, his name. I can share you the it's an expensive book, but I have that book, ebook, so you can read that book as well. So that is.
So that will be part of the organizations where they consider the social cost of it. So we are going to go back to the rectificatory of past mistake. Is that, which they also will consider it public value and this. Is that correct?
All right. Pravina, hold on. I'm just suggesting to you. You got to make that decision yourself, right?
Oh.
Okay,
Oh,
you got to make decision yourself. So I'm giving you certain. This is the early stage of your research, so you can explore. What concepts and what principles, how you want to conduct your research. So there's two things there I mentioned to you. The other thing is I think there's I forgot what the third thing now is. Okay. Where is it? Let me recollect my thoughts.
The book you wanted to borrow, ebook.
The book, I hope I still have the ebook version. It's from an old professor who have retired, a philosophy professor, applied philosophy professor, who has actually come here, spend time here in Malaysia. Where is it? I want to say, no, I forgot lah, Pravina. Okay, qualitative and quantitative, yeah, okay. Now, this is the important part of what I like you to make decision on, and that is this. And if you talk about measuring, right, Pravina, measuring. You can go two ways. You can go two different paths, right, of measuring. One is to measure it deductively. The other one is to measure it abductively, right? Therefore, but I'm going to give you two. Deductively is to look at what the established measurements out there, what the established variables and concepts and principles out there. Maybe from you look at SDG, Sustainable Development Goals, like 17 of them, right? And then there are, I don't know, 170, I don't know how many hundred indicators, right? And all that, right? Those are well defined, and then you can use that as a measurement, right? Or this bit, I would go with this path instead. The abductive way of measuring. So you ask the people of Puah Khumbu, how are you contributing to the society? What meanings do you attach to your work? And how are you contributing to the society? So let them define their contribution.
Okay.
Right? So you will have a type of a measurement of or theory of cultural heritage contribution that is centered on the social actors themselves. So the burden of defining what the contributions are not placed on your shoulder. You are shifting the burden of definition of contribution to the social actors, and the social actors will define the way they want to define it. But you got to get to the social actors uh, to interview them, to ask them what they think their contributions are. So there's a bit of limitation if you're talking about people who have or have no access to the to communication under COVID situation and all that. So I think we had this conversation long time ago where the issue is for you to travel to Pakumbu, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, did we talk about this, right?
yeah, I did. But
Yeah,
since
so
communication is there, I think
so but you just like what I raised to J1 just now about access to data, you want to have the you want to have this uh, access to data that would lead to this rich source of findings and all that. That is important for your research. So would you be able to get that kind of access? And then either way you measure, right? You will need to have the access to data, right? And the first way, if you do the deductive way, the economic sector, cultural heritage contribution to the economic sectors, then you need to establish certain independent and dependent variables. You got to show that there is a linkage, there's a correlation between cultural heritage and economic sector, right? So you will need to have some data for that. And then you got to show the statistical significance, the significance level and all that. You got to do that. So that's deductively, right? But if you do abductively, you still got to ask the social actors.
so. Can we combine both? No, we only have to do one.
You can combine both. Is there a reason you want to combine both, or?
The reason why I want to combine both is the economic sector. Generally we will look at the commercial kind of economic sector where they would have a good measurement of where you can do a comparative study. But if you come to this kind of artisans or traditional trades, there would not be any significance or showing how much they would to the GDP. So in France, it would sideline them into any policies making or budgetary system because they cannot see the visibility of it. So that's what I felt like combined. But the other one, measuring adaptatively, the community feels that they are looking into it. They are contributing, but they are not looking into it. So that is the gap. It happens where we should bridge the gap. So that is my ultimate research, because they feel, the community might feel we are contributing but the government is not looking. But if you go back to the government, they say we are not contributing, we're not having any data. So this always happens in the form of traditional artisans, traditional culture, heritage, business. But when you come to tourism, you see them, the government promoting, oh, we have this, we have culture heritage, we have dance, but if you look at the contribution, they only can give you in terms of tourism index. See tourism, how much tourism and see that kind of significance contribution they have. But that particular things, do they have it? That is another question. So the study would explore this.
Now that is actually something that you need to resolve if you want to look at the economic impact of cultural heritage, right? So the economic impact of cultural heritage, or you want to look at just the impact of cultural heritage, you can enlarge it. So that's where I ask you to look into the idea of public value, the discourse of public value, right? So what is public value? And we will see, maybe you see some other things in public, the relevance of public value, and how public value can help you to define the contribution of cultural heritage, right?
Okay.
So there's a and it is a growing field, the public value uh, studies and all that. So that's another way to look at contribution. So tourism is oftentimes one way that, culture related to tourism, heritage related to tourism, but public value is actually a larger concept of impact.
Mm-hmm.
So you might want to look at that, and you might be able to identify more dimensions and indicators and areas where you can measure, right? You want to look at that. So you look at that. I do want you to think about, take a step back and think about whether you want to do this deductively or abductively, or you want to combine. Why you want to combine? Because it's not easy to combine, right? And you can do a combined thing, but it's not easy. And my concern is that we want to make sure that this is a PhD project that you can complete.
Okay.
Right. So so far, thank God, all my students graduate. I tell you that. So far, more than 20 now. So my responsibility and my commitment is to make sure all the students complete the PhD. So we want to make sure that that happens as well. So look at this. Look at the idea of measuring cultural heritage. And indeed, cultural heritage is just not about tourism. Oftentimes it's associated tourism. I understand that, and in a way, sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad, right? If there's certain things that are beyond tourism that you can bring into your discussion, into your research, that you might want to look into as well. So you want to consider that. So I will send this. In fact, I will try to attach to everyone so that everyone can also see the file. Yeah, it's a PDF file, I think. I will attach that in a minute so that everyone can look at it too. And then the public value, I hope I can find it. And then you can look at that. As far as methodology is concerned, definitely you want to go beyond that. The case study is feasible. It sounds very very suitable because you're studying a group of community, and the way you're telling me, it sounds very much like a case study. So you want to look at a bounded entity. You want to look at what's happening within this bounded community, bounded entity, right? So that's a case study. That said, if you want to look at what is it? The something that's deeper, that might not be limited to just what is it? Indicators, right? Maybe case study, you can go beyond case study, but I want you to understand what you want to do first, and make a good decision. If you ask me, my thoughts are, my concern right now, right, is that is access to data, whether you can have access to data, Pravina. This is in Sarawak, right? This is Sarawak, right?
Yeah, this is right.
Oh, all right. Okay. So, have you thought about how you're gonna get to those people, community? Have you thought about that?
We have one Dr. Gwen who have done who was funded by the Shell. So we will see her. She's based in University of Malaya. So I will need to speak to her and see how is it.
How you can, do you plan to, you know that if you you do need to access the you know the data or the people, right? Right, Pravina?
I don't know. We
This is in Sarawak, right?
yeah.
Right. So that if I look at it, you know, the is good to have you have something meaningful here, definitely, right? My concern is access to data right now
Is it because of COVID or is
because of
it because
COVID. Of course, that's a big factor there because of COVID.
okay?
And we, you know, and you're talking about a community that might do they have are they you know they have problem with internet, right? There are there no or devices to connect to internet and all that.
No, they don't have internet
They don't
access.
have internet. So you want to think about that. And if I may, I would suggest you think about Plan B as well,
Um,
right? But uh, and the let me say this, and this is probably an important advice. Yeah, you must
mhm.
make a decision within 2 months' time, or something like that. 3 months the latest, on where you want the target group or target place or target area you want to research on.
Mhm.
Meaning, with certainty, you will have access to data with a very high level of certainty, right? Zhao Lei had this challenge as well because she wanted to research on, I think, China African uh, research or something like that, companies, right? So now she has made a decision to shift away from that because of the current situation. But she hasn't started her whole journey yet. So she has some conversations with me. So so something for you to make a decision. Yeah, within. So the access data you need to uh, 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 Rajesh faces the same situation. On the only difference is Rajesh is the research is on migrant workers, Indonesian migrant workers here. Indonesian migrant workers, they all, well, all I suppose, no, maybe not, maybe probably all, right, have phones and phones have access to internet. Yeah, so that would not be a big problem. The only issue is to get them to be willing to communicate via phone. So you will need to think about access, data access. So, and that would actually help you decide on whether to proceed or not with this group of people, with this community. Yeah.
So I have, if we look at it, which means I cannot go anywhere. I have to do only internet or something like that.
I didn't say that. You will, you will need to, your research will be something that is based on your ability to gain access to data, right? So you will need to think about that, how you can get access to data. Maybe
Okay.
you can, maybe I don't know, maybe you can get someone there to do the interviews or last time our Sulaiman has completed his draft, so now he's going through the process of turning in and all that, which is another challenge, right? He's in Nigeria. He had people, numerators to help out. So that is another way to get somebody to do the interviews or to collect the data. So that would mean some financial resource that is needed on your side, you know. So you got to decide on that, Pravina,
Okay.
right? Of course, you do have access to communities in Penang. There's another one.
Okay.
Remember you told me about there's a temple, a Hindu temple
Yeah,
Was it?
this is not, no one is funding them. This is Shell is hugely funding.
Yes, yes, yes.
Let me speak to Dr. Gwen before I
Go ahead.
make.
Yeah, you do. You have you access you assess the data situation, and then you come back, yeah, and then you got to make the decision. So but you must make the decision within 2 months time. I mean, you do not want to postpone that decision too long. So
Pravina,
yeah.
yeah, just to interject,
Yeah, go ahead,
So if,
Hi,
Sam.
hi, if you use the Shell example, somewhere you also have to say that they are now like under a lot of pressure because of their fossil fuels company, right?
Yeah.
And so they have spent a lot. I mean, they're spending a lot on this kind of CSR, but actually, like there's court cases against them because of what they do to the climate. They're refusing to, I mean, people are trying to divest from fossil fuels, and they're supposed to go into renewable energy, but they're always trying to postpone the inevitable. So, now the pressure is on this kind of fossil fuel producing companies.
Yes,
So
exactly.
it cannot be totally out of the box, in the sense that it has to be somehow brought into the picture.
Okay.
Sorry, Sama, you're saying that who should be brought into pictures? Shell, you mean?
Shell, they do a lot of, they even
Of
fund
course.
like environmental NGOs.
Yes,
And
yes.
now it used to be okay for, I mean, environmental NGOs. It's like, okay, we just take the money where it comes from, right?
Yeah.
But now within that kind of ecosystem, the environmental NGOs, they're like, oh, you really shouldn't. If there's no excuse, you shouldn't really take money from Shell because what you do is just so bad. But that so now there's these NGOs are very careful about who they take the money from, and fossil fuels companies like right at that end of the spectrum.
Definitely, yes.
So if you look at the problem
Definitely. Big
statement
oil.
and the questions that I have put the slides, Salma, so that kind of answers it. Empowering the next generation and how CSR could empower the identity and sustainability. See, renewable energy is relating to the sustainability. So that is where it comes into also. I think the
Yeah, but
question
it's a very micro. You know what they are. Let's say they may support that. They say that they're doing something by supporting. Maybe save the turtle or something. But what they're doing is so tiny compared to the damage that they're doing.
Oh yeah, that is what we are going to do. The value, are they considered the social cost or not, and the benefit and product? So what
So
is
you
the
also have to read up on that side of the corporate sponsor, what they are exactly what are they trying to greenwash. You see what I mean?
Are they in Penang?
Huh?
The turtle
Shell.
was Penang.
No. I mean, it's just global. I mean, it's a global problem that fossil fuel companies are not trying to transition to renewable energy, or they are slowing down. So although they say that they support green initiatives, they support climate initiatives, and then they do fund a lot of these initiatives as well, but they are actually trying to delay, phasing out from fossil fuels. So they're trying to prolong it, so they're just acting lah. So you just watch one Greta Thunberg video and you understand.
Okay.
And in the world of CSR, the true champions of CSR, I'm talking about Anita Roddick and all that, they have become very critical of what CSR has evolved into, right? And it has been hijacked by a group of people who have actually used CSR as a PR tool, and have had it clouded and polluted people's mind about what is good, what is bad, and some say now I'm a GRI certified person. I've taken that course, GRI, right? But I'm highly critical. I'm not a consultant, but I took a course because I want to know more. I'm critical, but after taking that course, I'm much more sympathetic a bit, right? So, but these companies, the big fossil fuel, the mining companies, all these big pharma, big tobacco, all companies, they have the thickest CSR report, sustainability report. The thickest one. They have done this, they have done that. They covered all the areas of CSR. But like what Kusama was saying, is very their focus is being on reform rather than transformative. So they say they're doing this, they're doing that, doing this, and planting trees, but what they do with their product, with their operations, is much more damaging than the CSR projects. The CSR projects have used to blind the public's mind and public's eyes, and to many times to bribe the politicians, right? The political masters. And that's probably true in Southeast Asia and many parts of the world, right? So I think as social scientists, we cannot remove ourselves from being critical, and so that's why I'm saying, Pravina, I'm thinking from your point of view, because I sense that I'm not sure that where you stand on the activist spectrum, right? I'm not employed by I'm employed by university, so I can talk very critically about a lot of people, right? But it depends on where. So I'm thinking, if you talk about public value, that is still safe area to talk about, to research on. If you eventually, plan to get grants from these companies, right? But don't get me wrong, I was part of the Penang founding committee on CSR, so I do work with Intel and Seagate and all that at the beginning at that time, right? So I don't believe that the people, a lot of CSR people are good people, but they are in institutions that exploit people. So they are being forced many times, right? Sometimes they are believers themselves, but many times they are forced by the interest of the company, interest of the capital. So even though they want to do good, genuinely, oftentimes they are forced by this capitalistic logic, and so that's why I'm giving you. So public value is something that is safe for you to research on, but strong enough to make some good points. Rectificatory justice is much more radical a concept, right? Because it talks about how to rectify past sins, how to make amends of past mistakes. And Shell does have a lot of past mistakes, right? So I want you to look at the what Kusama was talking about, the whole spectrum of things, and then make the decision yourself, right? So that is at the theoretical conceptual level. I would like you to think about that, but at the methodological level, I want you to think about the access to data. So which is crucial, which is very, very important, Pravina. Otherwise, you design a good research and then you're not able to access the data, and that becomes problematic later on. Right? And the sooner you decide on that path, the better it is. Right? So
It's about the public, the regulatory, the thing is so full. The private data.
Public value, the public value.
Yeah. Regulatory cost lah. Okay.
So, I just sent to you some readings there. Probably justice. Yeah, that's the concept. In the WhatsApp, I just sent the term, the rectificatory justice.
Okay.
Yeah, there's the professor is Joran Kolster, who has spent time over here before. I've really carried out research with him as well in Sweden and all that. spend some.
There is one Gavin Rich Gavin, who have also done that on contested terrain, the marine and the environment. So what he said was, it's CSR is all about dirty past and a cleaner and greener future. What they did was the dirty past. They had a very dirty past, and now they're trying to cover it using a cleaner and greener future. But that was in a terms of mining and environment.
Yeah, yeah.
Would they be used?
I haven't read that work yet. So, but do the write up, and then I can give you the feedback based on that one. Yeah. Yeah. Anyone else? Thank you very much, Kusama, for your input. I think that's very important, very meaningful. Yeah.
Yeah, I only came up with the title.
Oh yeah. It's good though. You're making all these connections at this point.
Salma is the one who helped me to make the title.
Okay, right.
She jumped in.
You know what, Nanda? If you go to the title, can you go to the title again? The title, right? Instead of an analysis of synergies between corporate reputation and financial enhancement and cultural heritage conservation, you replace the word synergies with the word contestation.
Contestation,
That will be more accurate. Contestation between corporate reputation, financial, and cultural heritage conservation.
Oh no!
Right, it is a contestation actually, but it's okay. We got the synergy. That's as well.
Oh, contestation.
But no, I'm just. Well, I'm not. I'm just half joking. But
It's very negative. Synergy looks very positive, no?
oh yeah, synergy looks much more positive. Yeah.
Yeah, when the company wants to give me grant, they said, "What is this contestation?" We're
Yeah,
not
that's
sure.
why I'm thinking from your point of view when you talk about grants and all that. Right.
So
Synergy
if you're
is
not
like
getting the grant from them,
maybe we can bash them in the report.
Salma, you want to say something? No, sorry.
oh yeah, I'm saying if you're not getting a grant from them, then it's different lah. But you also need to be very critical about the SDGs. You know, these sustainable development goals, they usually like for ticking the box, you know, they will tick, 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 tick. And look at, if you look at, you know, Malaysia or Penang, they have ticked they're doing so many good things in terms of sustainable development goals, okay? But it doesn't mean anything, you know. So the UN categories are there, you know, just so that people can tick the boxes and they can feel good and, you know. But you have to be very critical when you use those.
Okay. Are they really doing it is another question. That's where the value questions come in, because some of them tick the box for the sake of ticking the box, but do they see the outcome? So that's where the problem statement also going to go. Like what he says adds a lot of value. What the community thinks, more of the measuring adaptively kind of measurements. Do the community really think that they are doing good for the poor Kumbu or not? That is where my point going to. That's why I wanted to do measurably 2 ways to see deductively and what the thing will. It's actually, if I could access to the data, it was a very good case study because it will expose me to a lot of things. But since COVID is very limited, this is a title I've been working on for 5 years. So, I don't know, let's wait and see.
Pravina, my brother has been working on his PhD for 15 years, 15.
Oh.
Right. Yes.
But I need to use this to get employed. That's my problem. This is employment crucial.
Yeah. But is that here? No, he's not there. Yeah. So I'm concerned. So he's not here. Is he here? No. Oh, he said he cannot hear.
Yeah, something about the so-called cultural heritage. I don't know whether what I'm sharing is relevant.
Go ahead, Chan.
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Cultural heritage sometimes is actually what we call as the politics of narrative. Actually in Singapore, they actually make themselves as the legit successor of the Malay world. they are using their cultural institutions to actually publish books on Malay world and Singapore,
We
the
need
etc.
Singaporeans.
Yeah, and then their universal goal and also their economic goal, from what I can first is they are making them the center of the Malay world or the center of American Southeast Asia. So people remember, oh, the center of the American Southeast Asia. So the center of the Malay world is actually Singapore. And recently, they still keep the colonializer, which is Raffles, okay, which is for me, it's a con man. They still keeping Stanford records on the statue, but they replace it with another figure, which is Sang Nila Utama. Yeah. So from the cultural heritage that they are trying to portray is on economic strength, but we are actually the legit force or legit a nation state, which is the center of the the center of American Southeast Asia. That's how they use certain cultural heritage matters in terms of getting universal credit. So I don't know whether from Kuala Lumpur, is it any of the, let's say intangible material culture that narrative that is inside institutionalized in the people, which is can bring universal value for maybe the region of or actually the world. That's something that some ideas that I thought of. But
Yeah,
I'm struggling for 6 years already.
I,
Okay, right.
if you look at the Puah Kumbu itself, it's like a piece of cloth that they are making, which they need the original sources. For example, they have yellow dye being extracted from one of the tree. They have blue dye, which is an indigo dye, which they will extract from one of the what do you call that? The akar. What is akar in
Roots.
English? Roots. Sorry,
Roots.
the roots.
Okay.
All this is very much related to their daily life. If you will damage the environment, which is part of the universal credit value, what will happen is it will damage the productions of it, the production of Puah Kumbu. So Puah Kumbu is not only about wearing it. Sometimes they are trying to hunt heads. When they go for the war, the tribal war, they will wrap their head with the Puah Kumbu. They are that kind of level of people. So when they come back, the warrior will be covered with Puah Kumbu. It's a piece of cloth. So imagine your head is being chopped and covered with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they are the kind of people who are, they really, so when they go for a war, the enemy part, the people opposite who cut their head, they will bring it as a token of their war these things, and then they will have, if you're the warrior, your head, your dead, they chop the head and place it in a Puah Kumbu material to honor that universal value. So we can see it's part of their life. And if you goes in, damage the place, create a whole not livable environment for the plants and the roots and everything. If they chop, this kind of things. How if they chop the trees and plants, where are they going to? They also use it as a mat, as a
Seperti batik lah.
of things to do it. So it's part of their life. So what
Anyaman.
Anyaman.
Sungkit.
is
Seperti
they
sungkit.
have put Stanford Raffles corner, but here is the thing is still authentic.
Iya.
Sungkit. A form of sungkit. From our eyes,
So,
right?
so if you look at the designs of it, the designs of the Puah Kumbu and everything, it's about animals, it's about oral history traditions, which related. So all this, where I got this is actually from the Puah Kumbu narrative stories. oh, they used to have, they're actually a head hunting tribe. We never knew. So now I never knew they were head hunting tribes. You know, they don't talk. They just come and chop your heads. They are that kind of savage Afghan people. So oh, they had that history. Now all of them have moved into being engineers in Shell, more of a decent jobs.
Iban.
So where does identity have gone into?
Iban.
Okay.
So now Paul Fufu will be their identity. So a lot of stories of them has been captured through the design. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I hope it answers. I don't know. Does it answer the question?
No, it's actually sharing that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. We hate Singapore. Don't give Singapore example.
In Taiwan, they slaughter their head and they tattoo. So after you slaughter certain people's head, then you become a duck. So if you slaughter a head, then you actually you are still emergent. That's one of the sub-ethnic in the Orang Asal in Taiwan.
Oh, so you have to slaughter somebody's head to show you are matured.
Yeah. Then if you slaughter someone, you can have tattoo. Then that tattoo is actually a passage of rights to be a duck. Yeah.
If you don't slaughter, if you can slaughter anybody, good or bad, or like that, or you just have
You others track.
oh, similar to this fellas lah. Actually, they will have a fight lah. They don't go and simply chop. So yours one simply can chop. I'm just asking you.
Not simply, but as soon as other tracks are.
Oh, you fight with them lah.
Yeah.
Oh, similarly to what we have in Sarawak also. They also have
Government.
haven't seen.
Iban.
Yeah. Explanation.
Because there is one
Black
tribe in
stripe.
Sarawak which will have
Say black
tattoo
stripe.
around their neck and to show they are the head hunting tribe. They hunt head.
Okay.
I don't know whether it's a similar kind of tribes in Taiwan or not.
Oh, all right.
Okay.
If explanation is concerned, then that's a shared culture actually.
Ah, it should be a cat culture. Okay,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Okay.
The eerie part of the conversation, we chop people's head. Sorry, doctor.
No, it's all right. Okay. Okay. Pravina, are we okay? Shall we move to the next presentation?
Yeah, we are good.
We're good? Okay.